Welcome back to Daily Talks Books. Let's talk about Gild by Raven Kennedy. It is book 1 of 6 of the Plated Prisoner series. It was an adventure, is the best thing I can say. So it is loosely based off of the story of King Midas. So for those of you that don't know, the story of King Midas is where he got gifted with the ability to turn everything he touched into gold. And at first he was very grateful and he loved that power, but he became greedy, and eventually everything that he touched became fully gold, including the food that he would eat. So he basically asked for the power to be taken away, and he became grateful for the things that he had. So it's a tale about being grateful for the things that you have. Long story longer. This is loosely based off that, in that King Midas is part of the story, but it's told from a woman's perspective. So King Midas has gifted the female main character, Oren, in gold. So she's not a statue, but she is gold plated. And he keeps her protected, is the word that she used, away from everyone. And so she is caged. The story is told from her perspective. And I think that Raven does a really great job of putting us in Oren's mindset, letting us see the world through Oren's eyes, because she's very naive. I don't want to say naive. We get glimpses of her history before she meets Midas and before she becomes gold touched, ? So we know that she's had a struggle with her life. We know that she's had some trauma prior to meeting Midas, so she's very grateful for him coming into her life and saving her. So I think that plays into a little bit of her naivete. To say I loved this book almost feels wrong, because if you watch my sneak peek, this book, the three main things that come from this book is that there is a lot of misogyny, there's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of deception that takes place from all of the males involved. Like I am hard pressed to say that there is a male that I really truly liked. Maybe one or two of Oren's guards, but even then, the outlook on women and how women should be treated and what women are allowed to do is very yuck. And so you find yourself having these moments where you're like, Oren, girl, you got to snap out of it. Like, you need to stand up for yourself. You need to fight back. You need to push back. You need to talk back. And you get a couple of times where you get pushback from her and you're like, yes, finally. And then she takes it all back and you're like, gosh, dang it. And it just fizzles. There is a big scene where she really does take charge. And you're like cheering for her finally, like, ah. But then she has a lot of guilt around it. And I think that's what Raven did such a great job, is because of the manipulation that has taken place with Oren, and because of how she's been treated, and because of how she's been gaslit and just the way that she has been living her life, seeing it from her perspective, Raven Kennedy did a great job of representing someone in that situation. So if you've never been in that kind of situation where you've really been manipulated and gaslit and treated like crap and like just, you know, dealt with a narcissist and just all around bad, right? Then it's hard to understand and like see, you know, why is that person staying in that situation? Why is that person staying in that relationship? But you also don't know what's going on in that person's mind, where anytime something goes wrong, they're blaming themselves. It was my fault. If I hadn't have done this, then this wouldn't have happened. If I hadn't have gone there, then that wouldn't have happened. If this wouldn't have happened, then, you know, he wouldn't have gotten mad. And, you know, so there's a lot of situations that happen where RN is blaming herself, and she's saying in her head, if this hadn't happened, if I hadn't asked for this, then we wouldn't be here. And so the whole book is basically you being put in her shoes, you understanding her mindset and where she is coming from. And I think the purpose of it is so that you can see her growth. At least I hope what's going to happen is we're going to see Oren's growth throughout the next 5 books. And we're going to fall in love with Oren even more and like really be singing her praises and just be so glad that like she breaks through and just takes power. I'm really hoping that she's going to take power. So, you know, other romantasy books, other dark romance books, because that's what this is classified as, a dark romance, or dark romantasy, in the sense that there's like some of that fantasy aspect to it. We always expect our female main character to like have these moments of weakness in the beginning, but then towards the end that she's really taking charge, and like, or she's becoming the badass, right? And we don't really get that at the end of this book. So you are anxious to read book 2 to see where her world is going, for sure. I will say, if you're reading this book and you're wanting spice, you're not going to get spice. It's the book starts out with a orgy. Spoiler alert. It's not really a spoiler. It starts out with an orgy, and so you think, okay, this book is going to be spicy, right? Dark romance, and we're hitting the ground running. No, you don't get that. I will say that it is important that you read the beginning of the book prior to the story actually starting. There's an about this book section, and it talks about some of the darker themes that are going to be portrayed with respect to manipulation and some Stockholm and unconsensual sex. And if there's not like the menu that, you know, you see in some books where it's trigger warnings, and it's like basically a laundry list of trigger warnings. It's not quite that. It's more spelled out in a paragraph, but it is important to read it if you are triggered by certain aspects that are darker, or if you're still trying to work your way through some trauma and you're not quite there yet. This may not be the book for you until you've really battled that demon. So you're not going to get spice in the traditional sense that you're used to. Are there sexual scenes? Yes. They're just not the ones that you want, unfortunately. So don't expect that. If I were to have to give this book a rating, it's MC 17. The frequency of those scenes are lower. It's not surrounded by the acts themselves. It's more so just the purpose of the females. And the themes are definitely heavier than you would want a younger reader or even a more naive or inexperienced reader to partake in. So choose wisely. I split this book. So I started on audio and then I also read it because it's on Kindle Unlimited. So the narrators are Lily Drake and Anthony Palmini. Both did a fabulous job. This is the first time that I've had a book narrated by Lily Drake. I will be honest and say that the first couple of chapters, I was a little bit annoyed by her voice. She just had a very fairy tale-esque type voice, and I was like, this is gonna kill me. This is gonna drive me crazy. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it. But as you get going in the story and you start to see more of Oren's personality and you start to experience her life and like how she's seeing life, Lily's voice is perfect for that character because she does kind of have a fairy tale way of looking at things. You know, King Midas saved her and like he was brought to her in the perfect moment that she needed, and he has protected her from everyone, and just she has such a beautiful view of him that is so not the right view, and I cannot wait for her to change her mind on that view. And so Lily's voice and the way that she is bringing Oren to life is she does a wonderful job at it, and I hope that Oren comes into her own more. She starts to really stand for herself. She breaks away from the fairy tale. She realizes how much she's been manipulated, how much she's been taken advantage of, and she becomes stronger as a female. And that with that shift, that Lily's voice will shift as well. Because with the other characters, she does a great job, and it's not that fairy tale tone. The book is done in duet form, so you know Lily's doing all the female voices, and Anthony is doing all the male voices. So the narration is great. Reading it is great as well. If I were to pick one or the other, I would say it depends on where you are mentally. So this isn't one where I'm going to say the narrators did such a great job, go out and use that credit, or the narrators did such a horrible job, skip it and go straight to the book. It's not that scenario, because either way, I think I consumed it and enjoyed it both ways. I think it comes down to where you are mentally and whether you can handle this scenes and just the way that she is coming across and how poorly she's actually being treated. If you can handle hearing that. Some people can't. Some people may need to be able to read it so that they can kind of slow it down and digest it a little bit easier. I don't know. I know I personally, as a mom, I had moments where it was like, I pray my children never get in these kind of situations. So take that as you will. For my ratings, overall, the story, I give it 5 stars, and that's just because Raven did such a great job of really putting us in Oren's shoes and making us see the world through her eyes. and really capturing the full picture of someone who is been in that kind of situation. I think she did a beautiful job. I do feel like, based off some things that happen in the book, Oren is hiding some things. So I wonder what else she's hiding. When it comes to the spice, like I said, MC17 with a frequency of low. So there are scenes that are that do take place, but it's not very often. When it comes to our narrators, I give them 4 stars. So I hope that you guys enjoy it, and let me know what you think I got right. Let me know what you think I got wrong. If you agreed with anything, hit the like button.